the old D.W. Griffith's, the site of Griffith's Biograph studio.
Oh, really?
It's right out his office. He didn't know that. He couldn't tear himself away from the window after I told him that.
But, you didn't know him?
I've met him, through an interview. I guess so much too has been written about James Dean, and of course you and he were very close. What kind of influence did he have on your life?
Well, every time I smoke a cigarette too short, I think of him. I know that this is he says, "Boy, you really short." He says, "You really smoke your cigarettes short." I mean, I don't know. I do think about that. He had a big influence on my life. I have such stock answers to this because I've been asked so many times that it's hard to really, get down. And I saw a man act that I thought I was really. I thought that I was one of the best actors in the world when I was 18, 19 years old, or on the way to being, And watching him on Rebel Without a Cause, I just, he was doing things that were so far over my head that I couldn't even comprehend them. I threw him into a car on the Chicky Run. I grabbed him, threw him into a car, and I said, "You got to tell me what you're doing, because I don't understand what you're doing." I said, "Should I go to New York and study, at the Actors Studio? And what should I do?" And he said, "Don't go to New York and study." All right. He said, "Just do it. Do it. Don't show it." And I said, "What do you mean, do it? Don't show it?" He said, "Well, if you're smoking a cigarette, don't act smoking a cigarette. Just smoke the cigarette when you feel like it, right?" And he said, just the simplest things will become very difficult, but just do them, don't show them. He said, if somebody opens the door and you turn and look, and they got a gun in their hand, well, you may get up and make a joke out of your line of "You're scaring the hell of me. What are you doing here?" And but you got to see the guy, and you got to see the gun, and then you got to react however that is, and it doesn't have to be the same every time. You can say that a lot of different ways. But first thing is you got to hear the door. Door opens, guy's got a gun, and you can say to the guy, "You're scaring the hell out of me." I mean, however it comes out. That's not to be supposed how you're going to react to it. So to do something, not to show it. All right. He said at first the simplest things like smoking a cigarette or drinking a cup of coffee will become very difficult. And he said then pretty soon you forget about it. Things will start happening. He said then if okay, so he gave me little advice, little tips like that. He said another one, he said, everybody tries to think that okay, I'm alone in a room, right? But in point of fact, I'm not alone in a room, even though it says in the script I'm alone in a room, because there's a woman sitting over there, there's two men here, one sitting, one asking me questions, and one I'm directing or whatever, and one with the camera and the sound, and there's a guy in lights, and there's somebody taking down if I'm matching this shot, because I just smoked a cigarette. So I'm not really alone in this room. But until I can accept the fact that there are other people in this room, until I accept that as a reality, there is a camera here, and I'm not alone in this room, and then there's a possibility of me being alone in this room. Or for example, let's say that there's a script girl writing down to match, okay, I just took a drag off this cigarette, okay? I'm talking to you. She wrote down, I took a drag off this cigarette. That means when they come around and do my over the shoulder, I just put my hand over here. Then not only am I going to have to match this, but I'm going to have to match this too. Now I've done it twice. But I'm talking about, do you know what the weather's like outside? It's snowing. or it's snowing, the plane's not going to be able to come in. The deal's off. Now you know what that means, don't you? Don't you? She just wrote down that I'm pointing at you. I mean, it's using a simple reality that, like, you know, that you can find humorous, and you can even look at her, because, like, I mean, we're in a restaurant. You can look at her, you can look at him, you can look at her, you can look over there, you can look wherever you want. I mean, people don't know what you're looking at, but I'm saying you use that. I did that. Now that can be, depending upon what kind of scene it is, whether I'm angry at you, or whether I'm, you know, explaining something to you, or whether I find it humorous that everything I'm doing, now I have to, like, you know, reproduce this again, because they're going to do the two shot and the master shot and the close-ups and so on, and match this. You can take that in a humorous way, but that's a simple reality. And to come and say, you say hello to somebody, and they go, screw you. You go, wait a second. I mean, it's just moment-to-moment reality. There were simple things that he taught me that were very valuable. But one of the most valuable was to be able to use what's around you, that rather than, like, you know, shutting out, okay, I'm now alone, or like we are now in a restaurant, or we're videoing this, and that's what it is, and that's the reality of it. And thank God I don't have to match any of this. Wardrobe, makeup, but anyway, those things I learned a lot from.
There's really kind of technical things that really apply to film acting as opposed to...
Well, but then after Dean died, I came and studied with Strasberg. And Strasberg used to have us on the stage, and he would say, look at us, because we're real and you're real. We're real and you're real. And so it's not that much different than stage acting. You have to accept the fact that there is an audience out there, that you are on a stage, before you can get into any kind of reality at all. I mean, it's the story of the drunk coming in the middle of a performance and trying to find his seat, you know, or whatever. And if you're doing a comedy, I mean, you can use that as a humorous thing rather than letting it stop your performance and bother you. You can use that. If you're in a tragedy, you can use that guy's coming in here, and then he's in and he's screwing up my performance, and he's doing that. But you're not saying that. You're Biff and Death of a Salesman or whatever, I don't know, and you're saying those lines. But there's still a drunk out there that's coming in here, and then, you know, and you use that in some way. So it's not the difference. The difference is accepting the reality of the circumstance of where you are, because you're an imaginary given circumstance anyway if you're acting. And it's just learning to use the reality of what's going on around you to help reinforce you rather than to hinder you.
And like your second film with Dean, right, Giant, you had George Stevens directing.
Very short, James Dean, every time.
Yeah, George Stevens directing, because he was famous for the endless retakes. So I guess all of that, which you just explained, applying that to that particular film.
Yeah, Giant, yeah.
Because you had a director who...
shoots every corner of the room, they said. You know, no matter how small the part, whether he had one line or not, he would shoot every corner of the room. Yeah. Where's the other corner? Whichever corner. But yeah, there was a lot of matching to be done.
That was an interesting performance. It was a very restrained performance on your part in that film.
In Giant.
Yeah, that character.
Yeah, Dean used to come in and watch me, and then he would, without me knowing it, this is after I'd thrown him in the car without a cause, and also at that moment when I did throw him in the car, he asked me why I wanted to be an actor, and a lot of it comes out of like a love-hate relationship with your parents and wanting to prove something. And his mother died when he was very young, and he used to go to her grave, and he used to cry in her grave, "Why did you leave me? Why did you leave me? Why did you leave me? Why did you leave me?" And that turned into, "I'm going to show you, I'm going to be something, I'm going to show you, I'm going to be something, I'm going to do something, I'll show you, I'll show you." And that we had in common. and that's not a thing of saying I want to impress this audience, or like I feel powerful because I'm on this stage and I'm controlling these people's minds. It has nothing to do with any of that crap. All it has to do with is the fact that to work in the way that I've tried, and that Dean did, and that Brando does, and that Cliff did, and so on, is that you're working with your subconscious, and it's Stanislavski, and it goes to Stella Adler, or Sandy Meisner, or Lee Strasberg. Lee Strasberg was my teacher, and to trick your subconscious through a conscious means is like impossible. In other words, my father died. Okay, my conscious thing is saying, okay, my father died, which is a reality. Okay, this last year, my father died. Yeah, my father died, but it doesn't have any emotional thing. I mean, to have an emotional thing, I have to I have to wipe everything out, get into sort of a position, like to a state where I can relax and feel the tension. Like I have tension here, I can feel it, and try to shake out your tension, and like try to, see where your tension points are in your body. And get sort of to a place where you try to wipe everything out of your mind. You don't think of anything in particular. And then through sense memory, which is not pantomime, you try to remember, like, what was I wearing? Can I see anything? Can I see anything? Let's see. Is there anything that I can touch? What was I touching? Was I touching anything? Okay, and so then you drop it, right? And like, and so hi, how are you doing? So on, da 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 da. Your father's dead. What do you mean? I mean, you're kidding me. My father's dead? Well, okay, forget it. But like, I mean, you go for I've never tried that one. That's too close anyway. But like, you're tricking. You have to, like, it has to come from something that either the clothes you're wearing, the heat, the cold. It has to come from one of your senses. Your seeing, your smell, your hearing, your taste, your hearing, your touching. The beep was a.
It's like music does that too. You hear a song that just takes you to some other time. Entirely.
So, and once you've gone through a memory, a sense memory into an emotional memory, at that point, it's always the same object, or it's always the same sound, or the smell, or the taste, or something you saw that will spark it off. It'll always be the same thing, but you've got to trick yourself into not hearing it. You can't just. You've got to hear it, just like that. And you've got to be able to shut it off, man. And if you're going, and so like you can be doing something else.
Yeah.
But it's always the same. It'll always be the same sound. It'll always be the same smell. It'll always be the same thing. But they wear out. Stanislavski described it as like opening a box. He says you have a golden box, and you open that box, and like you let out that emotional memory. Well, they wear out. They wear out like a guy telling a joke. At a party, they say, "Hey, tell that joke. It's really a funny joke." And so you tell it, and everybody laughs. Hey, Pretty soon somebody says, "Would you tell him this joke?" And you say, "Okay." You tell him, "Okay, pretty good." Yeah, some people laugh. Yeah, pretty good. About the fifth time, you say, "Hey, why don't you tell a joke? You know the joke by now. I don't really feel like telling it." And they say, "No, you tell it better. You know it." You tell a joke, and falls flat. It's not so funny anymore. And people go, "Oh, yeah." Huh. It's and emotional memories wear out, so you have to constantly regenerate your senses, So like in when you're screwing in these areas, screwing helps. I mean, you have to keep your touch and your smell and your taste and your seeing and your hearing really like acute, which makes you totally bananas.
Like working with taking these acting concepts that you're talking about. You worked with a hell of a lot of these old professional Hollywood directors. I'm thinking especially of the 3 pictures that you did with Henry Hathaway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, was a guy like Henry Hathaway aware of these kind of acting concepts?
No. But like I learned a lot from Henry Hathaway, and strangely enough, when I was doing Out of the Blue, I used a lot of the things. No, he wasn't, and like the concept of me being a rebel, and the concept of me. I wasn't a rebel. I guess I was a rebel, but it wasn't that I was angry. It was I was just trying to change the system of the school mom approach to things. Of you say a line reading this way, you pick up the coffee cup now, you put it to your lips now on this line, you put it down on this line, da da da. You turn this way and you do this, and it was like and you say the line, hello, how are you? Not hello, how are you? Or hi, how are you doing? Or any of that. No, it's like got to be this way. But I found something out in the first picture that I did, and then it was
Great Western from Hell to Texas.
Yeah.
Excellent Western.
Thank you. Yeah. But I was bad in that movie. I felt out of place after I saw it. I felt that I was in another picture, and that's not good. I mean, a picture's got to be a picture, and the director's a director. And the next time I worked with him on The Sons of Katie Elder, which was 8 years later or something, I took his direction and tried to justify it, and did, and was much better in that film, and whatever. But like, well, once you direct a film, like you've got to respect the fact that the director is the director. And Hathaway, I learned a lot from Hathaway, and
tough guy, huh?
He's a mean man on the set and a nice man to have dinner with.
It's interesting too that I guess in '69, two of your films that were released, you were in True Grit, that he directed, and Easy Rider was, which really to me is a western. Was
I think it was a western also.
How'd you get along with John Wayne?
He kept running around with his 45 so every time something happened, saying, "Where's that commie Hopper? I'm going to blow his brains off." I got along with him pretty well. Mike and Pat Wayne are still friends of mine. I don't see them very often, but I don't live in that part of the country. But hey, Duke was Duke, man. Like he won the war in Iwo Jima. I mean, what are you going to do? But he was. I liked him. I liked him. They were all ornery. These guys. These guys were ornery men. They were tough, ornery men. John Ford and
Wellman
and Wellman and Stevens was no pussycat. He told Jack Warner to go back to his office and get off the set. He didn't go sit in his office, so he ain't going to be on his set. I mean, these guys are really tough, and they made tough movies. I mean, like and those outdoor westerns, Fords and of Hathaways and Wellman. I mean, those people, they were tough, and a lot of them came up through the labor, through construction. They got jobs. There were no jobs, and they'd be snuck in the back of trucks into like Universal or one of the studios, and be scab labor and start as as carpenters and work their way into wardrobe and into props and work their way up that way. So they knew the business. That was the one thing about the studio system. You learned the business if you wanted to. You could go watch George Stevens editing. You could you did loop foreign films. You did you had the opportunities of learning about the wardrobe and picking your wardrobe and props and you learned the basics of the business really well, and you learned the kind of things you say by rote, like, all right, let's get ready, we're going to take we're going to make a take now.
Lock it up.
Lock it up. Just what, the things by rote that, okay. Yeah. And,
So a reaction to that kind of filmmaking was Easy Rider, which I know was made for on a very low budget and really revolutionized the whole industry. Talking about the movie industry, as well as really the youth society, whatever you want to loosely categorize. I know if you realize how many kids of that time grew up with the "fuck you" poster from Easy Rider on their bedroom walls. I certainly did.
Yeah.
And, the impact on that film had not only on the movie business but on kids, on teenagers.
I saw it on a nuclear aircraft carrier, Monte Carlo, July 4th, 1976, when Henri Langlois had asked me to open the second Cinematheque in Nice, and I went and they took me into where they pushed the buttons for the bombs with the two keys inside this thing, and there was the poster of me giving the finger right on the nuclear aircraft carrier. That was banana cakes. But anyway, you have to realize how much change movies make. I mean, in L.A. at the end of like Easy Rider, they screamed "Kill the pigs," and in New Orleans they applauded when we were shot. So I mean, however it goes around. The thing about Easy Rider didn't revolutionize the movie business. They patted me on the back, and they were very nice to me, and it made Bert Schneider, Bob Rafelson, myself, Nicholson, and Fonda some bread, good bread. And I think it's a good movie, an excellent movie, and it has some firsts in it. Like it's the first time that a movie was made where you used found music rather than having a score written for a film, and there were some new kind of things. I do think of it as a western also. The campfires, they're the guys, strangers come riding into town, same as if they were on horses. I think of it as that. It was a symbolic movie, and the country was burning down at the time, and it showed that you could smoke a joint, like when Nicholson and marijuana, and not go out and kill a bunch of nurses. You know what I mean? And it introduced cocaine, which I don't know about that, but seems to be popular. But as far as revolutionizing the movie business, the movie business is built on a structure that I wasn't doing them a favor making a movie for $340,000 when their low budget was $1.2 million, because their tax structure and their structure is set up in such a way that I wasn't doing them a favor. As a matter of fact, I was stabbing them in the back, but nobody told me the game. I mean, you got to tell somebody the game, when they're from Dodge City, Kansas. I thought I was doing them a favor, and I was doing the people I named a favor.
It certainly spawned.
A lot of films, and a lot of people got a chance to direct because they figured if Dennis Hopper could do it, anybody can do it. But a lot of bad films came out of that too, and then also a lot of films that were very excellent and good. Like Mean Streets and Badlands, and those films were just squelched and put away.
Letting 30-year-old people direct movies was unheard of in the old.
Because they were all in their 70s, 60s and 70s. 60 was young. They were young directors, and it was a change of time. But I go to Hollywood now, and my peer group are now sitting behind the desks, and the system hasn't changed. They had long hair, and they were my friends. They still are my friends. Doesn't mean they're giving me jobs, or that I should expect because we're friends that someone should give me a job. However, the structure is exactly the same as it was. I mean, it's put all the eggs in one basket, and if you make a picture for $1 million, you can't steal $1 million. You know what I mean? I don't know where they steal money. You know what I mean? But I don't know if they don't. But I think so. However, I saw Roger Corman. He said he was on something the other night, and he said that the films that he made for those lower budgets, for AIP, that just couldn't be done anymore, or wouldn't be worth doing anymore because the structure of the studio system, which he wasn't going to go into, couldn't financially allow it to happen. And I will end it with that. I think I said too much already. No, I mean about that.
Yeah.